You might not think about it much, but something pretty unsettling is happening with bees right now. Yeah, in just the last, 8 months? Shocking numbers, hundreds of millions just gone. Mostly unexplained deaths.
It's really alarming.
And it matters to, well, all of us.
Yeah.
Right. This CBS News report we're looking at really lays it out. Bees are basically the backbone of U.S. agriculture.
They really are. Pollinating, what is it, over a third of the crops we grow?
Exactly. So in this deep dive, we're going to get into just how big this crisis is and explore some possible reasons why, based on this report.
And the report paints a pretty stark picture right away. These empty hives. I mean, imagine structures meant for maybe 80,000 bees, just silent.
Yeah.
Empty.
It's hard to picture.
Yeah. And Blake Shook, he's a major beekeeper. He doesn't mince words, calls it the worst bee loss in recorded history.
Wow.
He even says it could, fundamentally change how we eat in the U.S.
That's a huge statement.
Yeah.
But it makes sense when you think about how much we rely on them. The report says they pollinate, like 75% of our fruits, nuts, vegetables. That's massive.
And with billions, right. About $15 billion in crops, according to the report.
So yeah, when you lose bees on this scale, it's not just, oh no, less honey. It could mean serious trouble for getting those foods or paying a lot more for them.
Exactly. Which leads to the question of why this is happening now.
Right. What does the report suggest?
Well, it points to research from Juliana Wrangler at Texas A&M, and her focus is on forage availability. Basically, food for the bees.
Okay, less food.
Sort of.
Yeah.
It's this idea of food deserts cropping up for bees. Apparently, things are blooming at different times now, maybe because of environmental shifts.
So, like, the timing is off.
Yeah, especially in late summer and fall. Plants that they count on might bloom earlier, leaving this gap where there's just not enough nectar or pollen available.
Huh. It's like their pantry is empty during crucial months.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The report actually showed a healthy hive at Shook's farm. They smoke the entrance to calm them down, see all the activity inside, the baby bees.
Right. And those specific bees, they'd just gotten back from pollinating almonds out in California.
Just highlights how they're trucked around, how vital they are for that big agriculture system. But this food desert idea, does the report mention specific areas or plants?
It doesn't dive super deep into which specific plants everywhere, but the implication is that these shifts in bloom times are happening broadly.
Across different landscapes, affecting their ability to, store food for winter.
Exactly. Building up those fat reserves to survive, and if they can't.
Then you see these huge losses, and it hits the beekeepers hard.
Oh, absolutely. The report estimates maybe up to a quarter, 25% of commercial operations could go bust by the end of the year.
A quarter? That's devastating.
It really is. They shared this story about one beekeeper had 20,000 hives.
Wow.
Now down to less than 1,000. And he basically just said, this is it. I'm done.
Oh, man. That just
Yeah.
puts a human face on it. Was forage the only thing mentioned, though, or were there other factors hinted at? The report really zeroed in on the forage availability as the, key driver in this specific recent crisis they were covering.
Okay.
Obviously, bee health is complex. People talk about pesticides, habitat loss, mites. Those are always part of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
But for this report's focus, the lack of food seemed to be the main culprit they highlighted.
Understood. And the report's conclusion is pretty blunt about it.
Yeah, it's not just a beekeeper issue. This is a national food security issue.
And that's really the bottom line for everyone listening, isn't it? When something this fundamental, like bee populations, take such a massive hit.
The stability of our whole food system feels, a bit more fragile.
Definitely.
So I think the main takeaway is just the sheer severity of this crisis.
Yeah.
Unprecedented losses, potentially linked strongly to bees just not having enough food. It's hitting food production and the people who manage the bees incredibly hard.
Yeah, a really stark situation, which kind of leaves us with this final thought to chew on.
Yeah.
Given how interconnected everything in our food system is, what other, maybe less obvious consequences could ripple out from a disruption this big in the bee population? Something to think about.